You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 29th day of July, 2019. Thanks so much for joining us, whoever you are, wherever you are. I just hope you had a great weekend, and I'm glad you're here, right now, right? It's the place to be. Thanks for joining us. Okay, I don't have a chart up, but I will. Just like that. Let's try it again. How about just like that? Hey, just like that. All right. If you can't see the chart, go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds, and then you'll have one-click access to the show each and every day. Now, the days that you're out of the office, away from the desktop, and you still want to join the show, not a problem. Go to youtube.com/CFRN/live, and there you will find a live, real-time simulcast of the show as it unfolds, brought to you by the good folks at YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. All right, S&P 500 E-mini Futures. We are right at a weekly trading zone from last week, 3021/3022. Now, that was not our highest weekly trading zone last week. The highest zone, we never got near, 3066/67. When we hit the zone last week, we consolidated, spiked it a bit, returned to the zone below, and let me just point out that the zone below at 0203 up to 21, that's an 18-point move from zone to zone. Important to know that because price is always trying to get to a zone. Always. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to use our strategy, our methodology, our indicators, and all the other tools that we offer to simply determine at any given point in time which zone is price currently trying to get to. As price starts moving up to the zone overhead, back on the 24th, at the point you're able to determine that's where price is headed, you can climb on board and enjoy the ride. When price gets to a zone, only three things can happen. The most likely thing is consolidation, which is what we see here. Second most likely thing is rejection. Don't have rejection on the screen right now. And the third is a slice. I don't even have a good slice to show you at the moment, but I will show you both of those throughout the show. But important to know, only three things can happen when price encounters a weekly zone, and price is always trying to get to a zone, either the one overhead or the one below. After the consolidation, after the spike, where do we go? 18 points back down to the zone below. What do we do there? Consolidate. Price then heads north back to the zone overhead. So we had 18 up and 18 down and 18 back up. That's 18 times 3. That's a lot of points. That could make your week right there. Now what are we doing? We're still consolidating at that upper zone from last week. Not the highest zone, but the next to the highest zone from last week. Of course, partners all received the current weekly trading zones, and everyone on the trial, if you're not on the trial, you should be. Get a hold of Valerie, support at CFRN.net, or call 949-42-EMINI and say, hey, I want in on that trial. We'll get you in on it. Or you can just go straight to eminitrainingschool.com, put in your name, put in your email address, and like that. Bang. You're on the trial. All right? Okay. Now, the zones went to the partners and those on the trial this morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern, as they have done every Monday morning since December 14th of 2009. We are currently having the 1-year anniversary of Logic 247. That is our 24/7 E-mini alert service. And we're approaching, if I did the math right, we're approaching the 10-year anniversary. I don't know if that's the silver or, no, that's 50, I think. Anyway, 10-year anniversary coming up of the WTZ weekly trading zones. Okay? Now, just take a look here at this week's zones. Now, if you're not on the trial, I will hand out the zones, make them available to the entire community Thursday. That's what I typically do. But again, just jump on board, join us for the trial, 1-year anniversary of Logic 247. We'll talk more as the week progresses about what's happened over the past year, The highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly. Mostly it's just been good. But we'll talk about the other stuff too. All right? Okay, I got a little bit of news. Got a lot to cover today. We should peek at the daily chart just to see where we are in the grand scheme of things. Although, has anyone else encountered any charting issues with DT Pro? If you have, put it in the chat box. Because now watch, when I put it on 4 hour, it's going to pop right up. Yeah. Last night at the Globex Open, I couldn't get 30-minute on the NQ. In fact, I sent an alert out based upon a chart that had not updated until one of our traders brought it to my attention. I went and looked, switched time frames, and yeah. So now let's go back to daily and see if we can get that. Oh, we got it this time. Good. Hopefully, I just rebooted the platform, so hopefully whatever was going on has been taken care of. Now, on Friday, right here, we did put in a new all-time historic high in the S&P 500 Emini Futures. Closing price, 30.23. Previous all-time historic closing high. Futures for the September contract was 30.1750. Okay? Now, from this swing low that was put in back on June 3rd to the new all-time historic high put in July 26th, the 24% Fibonacci retracement is back here at 29.55, which also lines up with this swing high right here. And that's important. If this was resistance on the way up and resistance on the way up, support from above, will it be support again? Well, even if it doesn't hold, it'll be good for potentially one whale of a bounce. However, before price can get to that shallowest Fibonacci retracement, it has to pass through our shallowest retracement, which is a pullback to the BBC. That's the green line. That simply stands for bull, bear, cross. Okay? When price crosses below the BBC, we anticipate lower prices. When price crosses above, we anticipate higher prices. And if I back it up, I'll show you just how serious that can get, right? Below, lower. Let me put it on a continuous contract. Flesh it out. No, not a critical error. That's what I get. All right, let's try, see if we can just go back to the ES. I've learned here lately, those critical errors sometimes aren't so critical. Well, this one seems to be. All right. Apparently something's going on behind the scenes. All right, so we'll just go back. We'll just stay with this one. There we go. I was going to show you just how far back that all holds true about the above and the below. Yeah, well, it's pretty true. So, where we sit right now, we're building a red candle on this Monday, heading into a Fed announcement on Wednesday, where all the world fully expects the Fed to lower rates. Some say a quarter, some say a half. President Trump says a quarter is not enough. Will that put pressure on Jerome? I don't know. But from where we sit right here, right now, up about 30.20, a pullback to the BBC, and price always reverts to the mean. And in this case, the mean is the BBC. So we're looking at 29.90. From 30.23 to 29.90. It's about 40 S&P points. At $50 a point, it's $2,000 per contract traded. Okay? Now, if we don't take out this high today during this session with the Fed on the horizon, then I dare say we could very well make that pullback to the BBC as we head into Wednesday. And then what happens on Wednesday is anybody's guess. And I don't care what anybody tells you, it's a guess. It can't be anything more than a guess, because that's just how God created this universe we live in. Okay? You do not, I do not, man, nor beast, nor machine has the ability to know the future. Just as you cannot change the past, God did not see fit for us to know the future. So, guess, speculation, whatever you want to call it. Luckily, we don't base our trading strategy on the unknown. We base it on what is known, what we can know, and what the next high probability move is in any market, in any time frame. Does price always do the next high probability thing? No. Sometimes it does a little something different. We're going to go over some examples of that during today's show. Let me stop here, give you the numbers from around the world real quick. We're going to go to Michael, get a recap of what happened in the live training room today. When I come back, of course, I've got a little bit of news for you. We'll talk to John. We'll take a look at some of the alerts that have come about so far this week. Last week on Logic 247, got a recap right here. This is what happened last week, week 51. We're now in week 52. There were a total of 49 alerts issued last week. 11 of those never triggered. That left us with 38 actionable alerts. 25 of those reached the final target. 8 of them reached at least the first target. 5 of them were stopped out. So a little over 13% of actionable alerts were stopped out, in keeping with our benchmark average over the past year of 20% or less trade alerts getting stopped out with Logic 247. Okay? All right. Now, numbers from around the world. Starting here at home with the Dow, currently up 46 points. NASDAQ down 54. S&P 500 down 6. And let me just pause there and say that over the past week, maybe it's been 2 weeks, I have seen more divergence between the S&P and the Dow than I've seen since I started trading Emini Futures way back in 2005. Those two moved together in lockstep, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. If at the closing bell, the S&P's up 10 points, within a few ticks, the Dow's going to be up 100. If the Dow is down 200, the S&P is going to be down 20. Now you can go back and look at historical charts, and that thing just bears out. I've not seen it broken. I've not seen them trade in different directions as much as I have these last 2 weeks since I started, again, in 2005. All right, so the Dow up 46, NASDAQ down 55, S&P down almost 7, and the Russell 2000 down 10. No movers, no shakers. In the commodity basket today, crude oil up 22 cents, trading 56.42 last. Gold up $1.39, trading 14.20.70 last. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei was down 41 points, Shanghai was down 3.5, and the Hang Seng was down 291, And for the Hang Seng, that's a little over 1%. In the European markets at the close, the FTSE posted a gain of 137 points. That's almost 2%. The DAX lost 2.5%, and the CAC was down 9%. That gives us a red day in Asia, a mixed day in the UK, and currently it is a mixed day here in the US of A, with the Dow the only one in positive territory, up 43 points as we head into the recap. Michael, if you're ready, Michael's going to give us a recap of everything that happened in the live training room today, and then I'll be back.
I'm ready. Okay. I am ready. There we go.
All right, here we go.
All right.
And it's all yours.
Okay, I got it going. I got the color. Okay, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 29th day of July, 2019. Today, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the homepage at CFRN.net, and right over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, you will be brought to this page. You could just go directly to this page. This is eminitrainingschool.com, but you'll be brought to this page, and on this page, all we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number, and you can tell us the biggest trading challenge so we can tailor the training, the one-on-one training, to you specifically. Okay. Let's see. The spreadsheet. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today, as I said, is Monday, the 29th day of July, 2019. We made 15 ticks in crude and 10 ticks in gold. Put us at plus 250 on the morning session. Today, it took 17 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $100 a contract. And we took a total of 9 trade opportunities today. So on the month now, we're at 2,903. That's over 20 days, averaging 145 per day. 145 per day. On the year now, we're at 17,451. That's over 133 days, averaging 131 per day. Okay, now that is 1 contract, 2 hours per day. Same thing here, 1 contract, 2 hours per day. All right, so let's go and see what we did or didn't do. Now the gold contract, we're probably going to roll gold tomorrow. I'm going to go check on the volume right now and see how close it is. The December gold contract is what we're going to roll it to. That's got 124,000 right now. And the current contract has 172,000. So it's either going to be tomorrow or Wednesday we're going to roll gold. Okay. We'll check it out in the morning and see. Let's see what it's at. But today, let's see, we had a momentum long trade right here. We started out with that, and that was well, it would have been a break even had you taken it. It did not put in the higher swing, and I had said we didn't want to take this bounce right here because we should have put in a higher swing here, and then it just tanked, turned around and dropped in like a minute. It did all this. There were 2 shorting opportunities in there, one there, one there. Okay, then it changed directions, came back up over here, and we had a break-even trade right there. And then, yeah, okay, we had a break-even trade there, and then we picked up the goal for the day right there. We got 10 ticks profit on that one. We had one more break-even trade here. There was another long trade over here. Now, I had gotten up and left for a little while, and at the end of the session, there was one more right here that I didn't want to do because it was so late in the session. That would have been a break-even trade had I done it. Okay. During the break, there was really nothing here during the break. Okay. Okay. The euro was just garbage today. We had one break-even trade right here. Didn't miss any other trade setups. During the break, you couldn't do this because we had the high of the day right there. So there was really nothing there on the euro today. Okay. And crude oil, my favorite market. Let's see, we started out here with 5 ticks on crude. And then we had a break even, and we picked up 10 ticks here to get us at plus 15. We missed the follow-up trade right here that would have given another 10 ticks easy. Then we grabbed onto this momentum long trade here, and I should have locked in some profit on that, but I didn't. We're going to break even on that. Then it got really choppy all through here right up to the end of the session this morning. There was one shorting opportunity right here for that leg down, and it changed directions, and it gave a long opportunity right there for that leg up. Okay, change directions again. And step one is make sure you have a trend. So we didn't really have a trend right here. It developed more of a trend right in here, and that would have given you a shorting opportunity that you'd probably still be in right now, looking for the green line to turn down and get all the way down into the cycle. Now the ES was just trash today. It was. I mean, it started off here, went down to the weekly trading zone. We couldn't do anything. Dropped through it, and I was suspect at this time right here when the cycle started going up steep. I said it's probably going to go back up and consolidate right at the zone, and it did. Boy, did it! And it's still doing it. No trade opportunities at all on the ES this morning. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that. And here we go. Back to the spreadsheet. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. Today's the Monday, the 29th day of July, 2019. We made 15 ticks in crude and 10 ticks in gold. That put us at plus 250 on the morning session. Today it took 17 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we were up $100 a contract, and we took a total of 9 trade opportunities. The gross monthly profit so far this month is $2,903. That's over 20 days, averaging $145 per day. On the year now, we're at $17,451. That's over 133 days, averaging $131 per day. $131 per day. If you have not taken a free trial, go to the homepage at CFRN.net. And right over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial applied at CFRN.net. You can click on that, and it'll bring you to this page. Or you can go directly to this page if you want to, eminitradingschool.com. On this page, all we ask for, no credit card required. All we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number, and you can tell us your biggest trading challenge so we can tailor the training directly to you, the one-on-one training, okay? Hit the send button, and we will get you all the information you need to take advantage of our fabulous 5-day free trial. All right, and that's that. Okay. All right, with that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Yeah, I forgot to say that part. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
Recap of the recap.
Today, it took 17 minutes and 2 trades to get to $100 per contract.
That's a good bingo.
There it is again.
We have any news out this morning?
No, there was no news at all for the U.S. today. There's news tomorrow, but there's nothing today. That's why I was just happy to get the goal for the day early on.
Let's take a look at tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got Tuesday.
I don't know if you heard me mention that we're probably going to roll gold over the next day or two.
Okay, I'll make a note.
Check the volume between the December contract
Okay.
and the current contract.
So tomorrow, watch the yen tomorrow, guys. We got a Bank of Japan press conference. And then after that, we have in the U.S. High impact, 10 a.m. Eastern, CB consumer confidence. Also pending home sales. That's also at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, this is, if those of you guys that trade Globex, the overnight session, China's manufacturing PMI comes out tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 p.m. Eastern. So we have two high impact reports here in the U.S., one out of China tomorrow night. Also coming out of Australia tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We get their CPI. I've got some interesting news here on Australia I want to share with you guys in just a second. Then as we roll into Wednesday, of course, we know we got the Fed announcement coming, but we also have Germany's unemployment numbers. That's high impact. 55 minutes after the London Open. And then we've got at 5 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, we've got CPI out of Europe. And then at 8:15, nope, that's got to be Thursday. Hang on. Wednesday. Looking for Thursday. Hey, okay, now this is unusual. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me go back up and find that again. 10:15. 10:30, we got crude oil inventories. FOMC statement, that's Wednesday. Fed interest rate decision. And he's going to do a press conference. And then I guess it's going to be on Thursday at 10:15. I saw non-farm payroll in here. I thought I saw it on Wednesday, and that's not normal. You see the non-farm on there anywhere?
No, I don't see it yet. Hang on.
That's typically a Thursday. Oh no, that's a Friday.
Yeah, the non-farm payroll is usually on Friday. Hang on.
Yeah. 8:30 non-farm payrolls on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so kind of a light news week, although the granddaddy of all economic reports, the Fed announcement, and that's going to be Wednesday. And you know, it's like I said earlier, it's a real toss-up how the market's going to react if we get, now, the fact that we're going to get a rate cut, everybody agrees on that. So, of course, if by some chance we didn't get a rate cut, on Wednesday the markets would just go bananas. President Trump says that a quarter-point rate cut isn't enough, so he's looking for a half. If the Fed delivers a half after the market just put in a new all-time historic high on the S&P 500 Emini Futures, that would be a historic first. So the initial reaction to the market, of course, half a point rate cut would be jubilant, to say the least. Markets would move higher. But then you've got the morning after effect. You know, everybody loves a good party, but it's that morning after. Ooh, the walk of shame and all that. People are going to start looking at each other going, well, wait a minute. We just put in a new all-time historic high in the market. And the Fed turns around and drops interest rates a half a point. On the best news the markets could possibly already have, a new all-time historic high. What does he know that we don't know? That will send the markets cautiously lower. So it's going to be an interesting week. I anticipate a bit of a roller coaster ride, although the zones this week are relatively tight. I think from the lowest to the highest on the S&P, about 120, 125 points. Now, 100 points is average, but of late, we've been seeing numbers up around like 200, even 250 on a couple weeks. So we'll see. We'll see. It could be that we just get incredibly volatile inside of that 125 point range. All right, I said I had a couple or a little bit of news for you, and I do. Let me just get started. I talked to John. He's going to join us here in a moment. He might already be in. Do you see him out there?
I don't see him.
All right. Okay. Well, then let me just go to this news. I said I was going to give you the news about Australia. Let me do that first in case he pops in. Because I find this interesting, and it may be coming to an America near you. Yeah. Australia's government has delivered supportive statements on cryptocurrency as it looks to exclude the sector from new restrictions on cash payments. And while I typically talk about crypto during this segment, what I'm really focusing here on is the cash payments. In an explanatory memorandum issued late last week, Australia's Treasury said that it wished to ban, now that's a big word for 3 letters, ban cash payments for goods and services which exceed 10,000 Australian dollars. And at the current rate, that's about 6,900 US dollars. Now, we all know if we do a transaction at the bank of 10,000 or more, the bank is required to submit a special form to the IRS. Okay, that's been around forever. But nobody's stopping you from moving 10 grand, just that there has to be a note made in your permanent file. Now, a number of exclusions would apply in Australia, including transactions which the report describes as digital currencies. The reason, lawmakers state, is in order to prevent the disappearance of such currencies from the local economy, which in turn would lead to a block on freedom to innovate. The memorandum reads like this. Digital currency is a new and developing area in the Australian economy. Unlike physical currency, it does not have a firmly established regulatory framework or industry structure. This makes it difficult to apply the cash payment limit in a way that would not largely prevent the use of digital currency in Australia or significantly stifle innovation in the sector. So, now the important takeaway from that part of the memo that I read, Australia is saying that they do not want to prevent the use of digital currency in Australia or stifle innovation in the sector. Australia, which initially was anti-crypto, apparently is becoming very pro-crypto here. Now, Cointelegraph reported a little while back, Australia holds a mixed record on cryptocurrency, what I just said. This year, it emerged that authorities would go after individual traders for tax purposes, demanding access to user data from exchanges. Continuing, the Treasury suggested that cryptocurrency remains a marginal contributor to the economy and struck out in comparison to recent comments from other governments by saying its role in crime is negligible. There was a time when crypto was just for the bad boys on the Silk Road, buying hitmen, putting out contracts, drugs, all of that. Times, they are changing. The memorandum goes on to say, at the same time, there's little current evidence that digital currency is presently being used in Australia to facilitate black economy activities, black market. Given this, the government has decided at the present time to effectively carve digital currency out of this cash payment limit. Now, the main thrust here of what I'm sharing with you is that Australia, if this measure is approved, and it looks like it will be, would implement the $10,000 limit, that's 10,000 Australian dollars, about 7 grand US, starting January 1, 2020. Earlier this month, it emerged that Germany was also seeking to lower the maximum sum legal to accept in cash from currently 10,000 euros all the way down to 2,000, beginning January 10 of next year. So if this passes in Australia, you will not be able to pay cash for products or services in excess of 10,000 US or 10,000 Australian dollars. And if this one passes in Germany, You can't hand somebody more than $2,200 US, it's 2,000 in euro, for payment of a product or service, or you'll be in violation of this law. Now, this seems a bit draconian. Imagine that here in the US. How many of you, now, I was going to say, how many have ever saved up for a new car and then went and paid for it in cash? Well, many of you probably have, but you probably didn't pay for it with a roll of hundreds. You probably wrote a check or used maybe even a debit card. You follow me? But this is the beginning of the world governments cracking down on how we spend our money. They've already got a death grip on how we earn our money and how they tax it, but watching how we spend our money so that it does in fact become a part of the permanent record. This is something new, and I think we should all be more than a little bit concerned about that. Could it happen here in the US? Yeah, certainly it could. Now, Australia going pro-crypto, so's the sports industry. And sports is about to blow up bigger than ever because legalized gambling, if it hasn't come to your town yet, it's on its way. Cryptocurrencies and digital tokens have become powerful tools for a variety of industries over the past few years. The world of sports is no exception. Sports fans are notoriously passionate about the teams they support, and there's a massive market for everything from tickets to memorabilia, collectibles, and content. As the world continues to move online, sports teams and organizations are beginning to embrace the use of cryptocurrencies and digital tokens to give fans access to exclusive content and items using these new technologies. This move towards crypto acceptance has been happening for some time in the sporting space. As early as 2014, the NBA team, the Sacramento Kings, began accepting Bitcoin as a payment for tickets and merchandise in a move that was considered a first in the sports industry. From then onward, a swath of organizations have begun to explore the use of digital tokens. In this article, Cointelegraph took a look at the biggest sports teams and how they're adopting digital tokens and cryptocurrency to provide their fans with the latest in e-commerce and user engagement. Football, as it's called in the U.S., or as it's called in the U.S., soccer, so we're talking about the same ball, is by far the most popular sport on earth. According to FIFA's audit of audience data following the 2018 World Cup in Russia, over 3.5 billion people tuned in to watch the global showpiece. This number suggests that half of the world's population caught some of the action during the competition. Now, that's not half of the people on planet Earth who have a TV or have a cable package. That's half of the world's population caught some of the action during the competition, a staggering thought that hammers home the popularity of the game, given the potential number of people reached by the sport. Any product or advertiser associated with the biggest football brands are almost guaranteed to benefit from the exposure. Now, fans have a notoriously insatiable appetite for memorabilia, everything from jerseys to signed apparel. The biggest football teams have mammoth fan bases around the world, which are looking for a more immersive experience to support the team. A number of Europe's biggest teams have adopted a blockchain-based solution that gives fans a number of token-powered utilities to interact with the teams. Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain, West Ham, and Roma have all engaged in their own partnerships with the blockchain-based fan engagement platform Socios. That's S-O-C-I-O-S. Check it out. The platform enables these teams to launch their own fan tokens, which can then be used by fans on the platform. Using their tokens, they can participate in votes on things like changes to the club's jersey, while also having access to exclusive content and memorabilia. Socios has two types of voting mechanisms, binding and non-binding. A binding vote means that the club has to carry out whatever the outcome of a vote is. So if the fans vote for a color change of their jersey, the club will have to make good on its promise. Given that the votes carried out on a blockchain platform means they cannot be tampered with, cannot be erased. Also, the Portuguese football club Benfica began accepting cryptocurrency payment for merchandise and tickets in June of 2019 through the crypto platform Utrust. The move was mainly driven to meet the demands of over 7 million fans on social media. Supporters can make purchases using BTC, Ether, and Utrust tokens. You're going to start to see a lot of crypto advertising during these games. The whole gambling business, which is huge, is not far behind. There's no denying the influence and reach that sports have around the world. Audience numbers for the most popular sports are in the hundreds of millions, and this has massive potential for advertisers. Given that cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology have only been around for a decade, their proliferation into the sector is quite impressive. Partnerships with the biggest teams in European football, as well as breaking into the American audience for basketball and American football, cannot be understated, and advertising alone is bound to introduce new users to the world of crypto and blockchain. It's easy to imagine that online fan engagement and sales will be driven by tokenized platforms in the future, and teams that are already exploring these avenues could have a big advantage over those that haven't. Sports have always brought people together and influenced the lives of many, and the right campaigns and tools are bound to succeed when partnering with the right platforms. One last bit of news. The hedge fund of famous investor Bill Miller saw 46% growth in the first half of 2019, reportedly in some part from investing in Bitcoin. Citing an investor document, Bloomberg reports on July 26th that Miller achieved such outstanding results by investing in Bitcoin, among other high-performing stocks. Alongside Bitcoin, other investments in the Miller Fund include Amazon, ADT, and Avon. When's the last time you heard about Avon being in a hedge fund? The 69-year-old investor reportedly found success by following a similar investment strategy as he used during his 3-decade run at Legg Mason, which envisions investing in securities that trade at a large discount to their intrinsic value. All right, John's here. Let's go to him real quick. See what his take on the day's events are so far. And when he and I finish our discussion, we'll take a look at some of the alerts from last night. A reminder, the 1-week, 1-year anniversary trial of Logic 247 is underway. If you want to participate, go to eminitrainingschool.com, put in your name, put in your email address, and I'll see you on Telegram. John, welcome to the show.
Where? Oh, Jesus.
John, are you there? Hang on.
Sometimes some ulcer can give you heart symptoms. Sometimes ulcers can give you heart symptoms. Heart symptoms.
All right, John's on the phone. I can hear him in the background.
So
just go ahead and close his go ahead and close his mic until he gets done. Okay, let's go to Concierge Trade Alerts. Take a look at those real quick. If you want to grab a screenshot, here you go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Got them? All right. On the S&P last night, we had a gap open last night, and as you know, those of you who do know, our strategy embraces the fact that gaps on futures almost always close. Now this is just the indices. Gaps on futures on the indices almost always close in the same session. Quite often, unless it's an enormous gap, which we don't see a lot of, we'll usually close in a couple hours. So it looks like we had about 2.5 hours to get that one closed. Actually, it closed in an hour and a half, if you mark it right there. Okay? All right. I was having charting issues last night, as apparently I was still having this morning. And this gap higher, didn't even spot that last night, or we would have taken advantage of that. Also, on the S&P, we were looking to be long the30 at 30.35 or above, short 30.18 or below. The 30.18s right here. So we did duck below it. Put in a swing low at 30.15.50, so 2.5 points. Now, the Concierge Trade Alert is a static report issued typically shortly after the Globex Open. Most nights, I'll get them out by about 6:30 Eastern. Some nights, it's later. But I try very hard to get them out by 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, the Concierge Trade Alert differs from the Logic 247. Concierge, again, is a static report taking into consideration what may happen throughout the entire session. Logic 247 are dynamic, in-the-moment alerts. We're putting out opportunity as it develops. On the Concierge Trade Alerts, when you approach a trigger on the Concierge, you should go to your chart and you should either find a valid trade setup utilizing our methodology, our strategy, our indicators, or you should look for a supporting Logic 247 alert. A Logic 247 alert won't be issued in defiance of the Concierge Trade Alert. The Concierge Trade Alert should be backed up by one of the two things that I just mentioned. Okay? All right, let's look at the Dow. Move this for a moment. Okay, on the Dow, so being long at or above 27,215. All right, you want to open John's mic back up? Please. $27,215. Right here, we put in a swing high up at 255. So that's 30 points on the Dow. $5 per point, it's $150 per contract traded. 27,215. On the flip side, Now the Globex open was right here. No, how about right here? 28th, 6 p.m. Eastern. That candle right there. Globex open. Okay, on the short side for the Dow.
I've put for the Dow on your shopping list.
Alexa, stop. But thanks. On the short side, 27,125, which was right here. Okay. Now again, this is where you want to go to your indicators. You want to go to your chart. Is there something significant? Or is there a complementary Logic 247 alert? Because remember, now this was right at the open. But as the session progresses and price approaches a concierge trigger, you should see, in most cases, a corresponding logic alert if I see something happening in the marketplace that represents opportunity, okay, in the moment opportunity. Think of it as two lines in the sand, okay. This point and below, we want to start looking for short trade setups. This point and above, we want to look for long trade setups. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. So we triggered and ran for 30 points. We get back below the trigger, off we go again. Not unusual to see one of these alerts trigger both Concierge and Logic 2, 3, even more times throughout the session. Lines in the sand, long at or above, short at or below, and everything in between is the market just trying to make up its mind. And when the market has not yet determined what direction it's going to trade in, well, do you want to be a part of that? Do you want to be a part of a directionless market? I don't. And I do my best to keep you out of those. All right, let's go to the Russell. Okay, on the Russell, long 1586, so no trigger there. And on the short side, 1574. Now, the zones you see on the chart are last week's zones. Hi, John. Welcome to the show.
Hi there. Sorry about that. It was a bit a few incoming just as I was trying to come on. So
how was your weekend?
Not too bad, thanks. It was a bit dramatic with the Grand Prix over in Germany. In fact, there were two races that were severely disrupted by the weather over the weekend. Bad weather, not the Tour de France. I don't know whether you've been watching it, but there was a French guy leading from almost like 18 days, and they ran into, they were up in the mountains, and they ran into a kind of a hailstorm, caused a whole lot of mudslides, and they stopped the race. And when they stopped it, a Colombian guy pulled ahead, and he ended up winning the Tour. So this poor guy who was winning, it's probably the first time a Frenchman won in decades, I think. And that would have been a big deal for the French. And he ended up fifth in the end. So that was one. Then Hamilton was leading the race to begin with in Germany yesterday. Had some problems, slipped back to about fifth place or something like that. Then he got back to first. Then he spun and ended up coming in about ninth. So he lost his first race. Like he's won 7 races this year and came second or third in the other 3. So it was a bit of a black day for Mercedes. The other car had a crash. So this, these things happen from time to time, but it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season.
And the Tour de France was this weekend as well.
It was, yeah.
The winner was the youngest winner since World War II.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Anyhow, the market took a bit of a spill this morning. I'm not particularly sure why, but I think it's just the usual pre-Fed weakness. That's a sign that if we get weakness before the Fed, it usually means the market's going to rally into the Fed. The gold and silver, I think the metals are looking very, very positive this morning, particularly palladium. Palladium and platinum are pulling ahead, and copper as well is up. I think copper is pulling out of this low-end range. So most of the metals are pretty much on their highs, and the gold stocks are only a little bit off their highs. This is kind of the last time the gold stocks rallied into a Fed meeting. That tends to be what they do lately. So I would say the metals continue to be a buy here, and are likely to possibly break out higher in the next day or two into the Fed meeting, and could continue. I mean, there might be a bit of volatility around the Fed meeting, but I think they could continue higher on any kind of a rate cut. And I think the dollar, even though the dollar is pretty high right now, almost at a new high for the last couple of years, 2-3 years, I think that it's well, you have to see what the dollar does when the Fed cuts rates. It could go higher, It's hard to say, but if the dollar turns down, then I think it's going to be even more bullish for the metals. So the way silver's poised at the moment, if you could pull up the silver,
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll see that it's on the point of kind of turning up here. Look at that JB Morgan. That's awesomely bullish, that thing. See that kind of consolidation. Yeah, it really looks like it could very easily pop higher here. It's hardly giving up any ground at all. And since it launched this big run up, and I think the next leg looks like you could take it at about $1 higher, maybe $1.50 up to the 18 level. I think silver getting up to 18 is a very bullish development. It's almost like if you look at all that action that's below 16, right? It's kind of like an anomaly. So you can almost eyeball this thing going up to about 18.5 and maybe consolidating there for a while and then breaking out higher beyond that.
Now, the president says that a small rate cut's not enough. You think the Fed's going to deliver a 0.5 point on Wednesday?
You know what? They might. I think that there's a likelihood they might even do two points. Full.
You mean a half?
Yeah, well, I think they're going to do a point now between now and the end of the year,
okay.
And maybe even more. They might be very aggressive. I think they've got to really push it here to get the memo out. I think if they're too cautious, we might have some problems. But we are in a different kind of we're in a very tight economy in a lot of respects. And this rate cut might just be what the doctor ordered, in spite of there's a lot of, there's a fellow called Menard who founded Guggenheim Partners, saying that, what we talked about last week about a Fed rate cut potentially, causing a recession, if you like. But I think there's enough momentum in this market to get us through. And remember, Chinese, everybody's stimulating around the world. We're just rejoining the herd, if you like. And I think being the biggest economy and getting into an easing stage. I mean, look, you think things are going well in Europe. They might be in Germany, but even Germany sort of, the whole of Europe needs stimulus. and unemployment is, they were saying, I saw some headline, unemployment drops to a new low or a recent low in Spain. It's at 14.5% unemployment in Spain. So,
14.5%?
Exactly. So, Europe needs a real economic push, if you like. They're talking about buying equities over there, and you've got this Lagarde, now the new leader. I mean, she's going to make sure Europe grows. I think she's going to do whatever it takes, maybe even more than Draghi. And if we get the China, there's probably going to be a Chinese trade deal as well. But in a way, if even without the deal, it might actually help the U.S. economy even more, even if they put new tariffs on. So it's almost like a win-win situation in versus China. So I think we're gonna, if we can maintain this. Some of the numbers that came out last week, especially on the consumer side, were very positive. And you've still got, look, the tax cut benefit is only a year old. And that tax cut is really, historically can have a decade, even a multi-decade effect on the economy. So I think we're gonna maintain a pretty strong economy into 2020. The
gold's pretty quiet.
Yeah, but can you see well, look, you see, I think it's going to break up because the silver is acting so strong. And if we, just remember that the gold tends to have pretty, look at that silver. It really looks like it's going to fly here. And,
it's holding at these higher levels.
Yeah.
So that's a 30-minute chart.
So, I think the market's a little bit more risky now because of the Fed, and the Russell is breaking down today. And, the European markets took a bit of a hit on Friday too. So, there is a little bit of, even though the Fed does lower rates, there might be a negative reaction initially, but I think after that it'll sort of work its way back up again.
Well, there has to be concerns in the minds of traders that we're lowering rates, especially a half a point, when we've just put in a new all-time historic high on the benchmark or the bellwether, the S&P 500.
Yeah. The S&P actually looks the most bullish right now of the indices.
And I talked about this earlier. The current divergence between the S&P and the Dow is something that I have not seen them trade in opposite directions in this manner for any period of time since I started watching futures, trading futures in 2005. To have the S&P to have one positive and one negative. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we've had that before. We had that a bit last year. And remember, that's a little bit of a risky thing, when the Dow is up 87 in the Dow and the Nasdaq is down 26. That is that usually means you got to be careful, because the Nasdaq's usually right, and the Russell is the same today. It's down on its lows. So I think there may be another leg to the downside before this market sort of gets back into an upward action. However, if the Dow becomes the only index to hit a new high and everything else is negative, then you have to be doubly careful when that happens. So, and I guess the Dow is pretty close to hitting new highs here, new all-time highs. When the Dow hits an all-time high and nothing else does, it's kind of, in my book, that's a time to be very careful. So
take a look at the Dow.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Dow is poised to go to new highs here for sure. It looks virtually assured.
Yeah, it's got to get through these obstacles that.
Yeah,
It's
it's kind
laid
of
in its
weird
own
because
path.
Boeing got hit for some reason. Actually, FedEx and Boeing are both down today. So the Dow is internally quite strong, given the fact that those two stocks are down as much as they are. So the energy is kind of holding its own, as you were looking at a while ago. That beyond somebody, I heard that on one of the news broadcast last night, and I figured it was a short this morning, and sure enough, it lost 14% in the first hour or so, but it pulled back up. I think it's coming out with earnings this evening, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of Tilray. You remember Tilray? When it got up to 300, and we sold it at 280.
Yeah.
280 and went short, and it's down to 49, down to 39. So I think this beyond is a short, a developing short. Like, if you can pull up the history.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up a daily here. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of cast a shadow on the whole industry. The other pot stocks weren't happy when that happened because.
Well, they're in for a tough time because this, when it's the classic example of a stock going parabolic, and the damage you can do.
That usually doesn't end well when that happens. Yeah. It just doesn't.
If you remember, Dwayne, we called it.
We were talking about the day.
The first time to 100. I think it got to 135. Then the next day I said it probably hit 235, and then the day it hit 235, I said it might hit 300. By the time I got back from just going out for 10 minutes, it had already hit 300, right. And it was on the way down. So we actually shorted it at 280, sold it and went short at 280, and basically we've been short ever since. So it looks like it's going to break down further, but it might do a kind of a Bitcoin thing here. It sort of gets down into this sort of a base, and it might spike a bit, but eventually I think it's going to take another run to the upside. This stock. Could you pull up Bitcoin today?
Absolutely.
Oh, just put up Beyond if you wouldn't mind, just for a second, because it's a good comparison.
Beyond Meat?
Yeah. BYND.
Yeah. There we go.
Right. Yeah,
this thing's been on fire.
Yeah, it could do the same as Tilray, but it's definitely getting up into shorting territory. But it may not be over yet this run. So, but at some point
who are the Beyond Meat competitors? I mean, there's been fake meat around for a long time.
There's probably half a dozen of them out there, fairly big ones.
But this company just took it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And the fact that they got into Burger King, Burger King chose to do a burger with their product, that right there probably accounts for most of this stock price right now. Because before Burger King came along, they were down here.
I was looking at
below 60.
One of those Shark Tank success stories. That the power of getting a product into a big chain is mind-boggling, because one of these sort of home-based kitchen bakeries started out with a product that took off, and they ended up getting into Starbucks, and I think they just got bought out for about 35 million or 40 million, something like that, from nothing, which is an amazing story.
Getting on that show is no easy task. And
yeah.
The amount of production time that goes into each one of those shows. And on Shark Tank, when we see the entrepreneur come out and pitch their product, that's a clip out of what's typically like a 2 to 3 hour presentation that they do, and then they just clip out the highlights and stitch them together in the editing room. So, and the sharks that are on there, their filming day is about 13, 14 hours for each episode. I'm surprised that they sit around there all that time under the hot lights. I mean, they got money, they got fame. Yeah, each one has their own.
A lot of their businesses, a lot of the businesses these guys have backed have done real well. You know, they're making some pretty good money off quite a few of these businesses. I mean,
I forget the percentage, but something like 30-40% of the ones that you see get a deal on Shark Tank, the deal never actually materializes.
Yeah, right.
Something happens, something breaks down, something comes to light that wasn't disclosed in the presentation, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a good show. There's a lot of good ideas on that show, and
I've always enjoyed watching it.
It's inspirational, and it's amazing how the internet has impacted those businesses. You know, how the ability of some of these products to go viral is just it's just amazing. There was a good one last week. I'm trying to think of what it was now, that they couldn't keep up with demand, but they ended up getting a deal, I think, with Mark Cuban. But it was a very unusual kind of product, but nevertheless, it was a winner.
Well, CNBC is sure getting their money out of that program, because that thing's in syndication previous seasons on CNBC at night. Once the markets are closed and all the talking heads are done talking about the markets, it's either Shark Tank plays all night, or American Greed, or where they open the suitcases. What's that called? Not Let's Make a Deal, but with Howie Mandel. Yeah, those three shows, boy, those things are in heavy syndication.
Sure.
Over and over and over. Now, what else you want to cover, John?
Can we look at Bitcoin for a second?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I got
By the way,
sidetracked there.
this Shark Tank is another success of Mark Burnett, who also created the English version of Dragon's Den. And
Dragon's Den. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's like the English version of Shark Tank.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, you should watch it sometime. It's quite a good show.
Bitcoin
so
on a daily.
Bitcoin, it sort of had a kind of a three-wave pullback here, this Bitcoin. So if it can hold the 10,000 area, it's probably going to take another leg up. And actually, the extent of this correction and the breadth of it kind of implies that Bitcoin could be headed back to its highs. Actually, could be headed back towards probably to new highs before. I
think new highs are in order at this point.
Yeah. So, can you squeeze it up a bit to see a little bit more history?
Mm-hmm.
Because especially had an epic rally off these lows. I mean, jeepers.
Yeah, it really did. Let's go weekly.
Yeah, it's got a bit of work to do to get past that previous peak there, and you have to be careful of the secondary peak syndrome, which is
right.
When you have a I mean, I think that parabolic, this rapid up move is probably what's going to happen to Tilray some way down the road. You know, maybe another few months of basing out. You'll probably see a rally like that, which will take Tilray back up to maybe 150 or something like that. But and that's probably going to be a pretty good trade. But because usually almost every stock that has some sort of a parabolic move has some kind of a dead cat bounce or a new up move, one or the other. And then, with the Bitcoin, it could be a new up move. But it might have a bit more work to do before, it could go down. Yeah, I guess if it holds 10, it'll be all right. It could come down to about 9.5, maybe 9,500. So,
if we can hold this 10, I think that's it's important. Obviously, it's important, but there we go.
Okay, doke. Well, listen, thanks for the invite.
Hey,
Have
John,
a great afternoon.
thank you.
And catch you tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Been hitting that 9.5 for a while. Okay. All right. So we made it through the S&P and the Dow and the Russell NQ. Big drop for the NQ. Now, I almost reissued that swing trade last week on the NQ. I almost reissued that again last night. We're approaching this 62% reverse fib, swing high to the swing low. And there you go. Support will most likely become resistance right here. Leg, a retracement, and I would look for another leg. Just let this thing rise up here, and we'll most likely put out a Logic 247 alert. Let's jump to the Logic real quick. Again, last week, week 51, this is week 52, our 1-year anniversary since we launched Logic 247. We had 49 total alerts last week, 11 never triggered. That left us with 38 actionable alerts. 25 reached the final target, 8 reached at least the first target, and 5 were stopped out. That made it a little over 13% of actionable alerts stopped out last week. Last night began week 52, 1-year anniversary. 2 weeks in a row, the first Logic 247 alert stopped out, coming out of the gate. On the Dow, reached the target. This one I had to end up canceling this one because the numbers were way out of whack. The market was trading well above that when I issued it, thanks to Tim for bringing it to my attention. And then we had a crude, gold. There was a note on that cancellation. NQ was stopped out. Never triggered. When you see the Z's, there's only 3 things to watch for here on the recap. Thumbs up, an X is stopped out, and the Z's mean it just never triggered. There's another NQ. Oh, the NQ is brutal to us. 2 in a row. And there's crude, copper, euro, the pound, Mexican peso, S&P, NQ, and with the crazy action we had this morning, there's only been 1 alert out so far today. So that brings you up to speed on Logic and Concierge as we head into this new week, a big week, looking at this Fed announcement coming our way on Wednesday, and it's going to create a fantastic trading environment because we trade futures. We don't care if it goes up or down. All we care about is that it goes up or goes down. It's difficult to trade a sideways market, but as long as there's movement, we'll buy it, we'll sell it, and we often see two-sided action in the same session. We have opportunities to go long and go short, and sometimes even go long again. If you're not on the trial, go to eminitrainingschool.com. That's eminitrainingschool.com. Get signed up, and then if you have questions, call Valerie 949-42 Emini. That's 949-42 Emini. She'll get you set up in Telegram. She'll get you everything you need, links and passwords. She's got answers to all of your questions, whatever they might be. All right, let's go to the good word for the day. We're going to talk about leaving a legacy. Matthew 25:21. Well done, good and faithful servant. You don't get to choose the moment of your arrival and departure here on earth, but you do get to choose what your legacy will be and what you will be remembered for. At 5, wrote an advanced concerto for the harpsichord. Before he was 10, he published several violin sonatas and was playing the best of Handel and Bach from memory. Soon after his 12th birthday, he composed and conducted his first opera. He was awarded an honorary appointment as concertmaster with the Salzburg Symphony Orchestra, and within a few years was hailed as the pride of Salzburg. When he died at age 35, he had written 48 symphonies, 47 arias, duets and quartets with orchestral accompaniment, and more than a dozen operas. He's credited with some 600 original compositions in all. That's quite an accomplished life. Even so, Mozart lived most of his life in poverty and died in obscurity. His sick widow seemed indifferent about his death. A few friends made it to the church for his funeral, but a storm prevented them from going to the graveside for his burial. So the location of his grave became virtually impossible to identify, and there's no shrine there marking his resting place. So today, what is Mozart remembered for? What is his legacy? Not the life he lived, but the music he gave the world that still enriches our lives today. When your life's sole focus is self-interest, you won't be missed when you're gone, or missed for the right reasons. So find a cause greater than yourself, one that will outlive you, and pour yourself into it. Don't just leave a will, leave a legacy that fulfills God's will. That's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.